Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the Nostradamus of MMA, KC Onyebuchi.
Combat Sports Talk. ¿Cómo está?
There it is, man. I told you I was going to do it.
I was ill-prepared. Like, I had my own intro ready, and then it was Nostradamus. Well, what can I say? I can smell victories.
You can smell victories. You specifically called the main event victory in the right round. I was very impressed.
So this is what I think we got to start, like, officially publishing my picks, because I never get credit for being able to call these fights so accurately.
You're absolutely correct, because the fact is that we were sending you text messages the whole day going, what are your picks? What are your picks? What are your picks? Now, because
I sent them in the day before.
No,
a wise man.
When we get to the main event, we will give you your glory. I'm not going to steal it from you, but yeah, you didn't pick any other fight. I'm sorry. You were not on record.
Because none of the other fights mattered.
Okay. All right. So,
anywho,
the UFC stopped in Dallas, Texas for UFC 228, which was the triumphant return of Tyron Woodley as he stepped in the ring against up-and-coming fighter, the Gorilla, Darren Till. A second title fight got cut for medical reasons, but it didn't matter because this was arguably one of the best fight cards of the year. There were submissions, there were knockouts, and a few fighters failed to make the buffer factor. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, what?
No, that was true. It was also, I think, the very first card with 2 knee bar finishes.
That is correct. That is correct. We'll talk about that on The Official Decision. The Official Decision. This is The Official Decision. This is where we look at the action on Saturday night and recap what we thought mattered in the card that we call UFC 228, Woodley versus Till, at the American Airlines Center in our hometown, Dallas, Texas.
D-Town.
So
many great fights have happened at the American Airlines Center. This is a great venue for fights, and there should be more there. Absolutely.
Before we get into the main card, I do want to say that in the prelims, Carla Esparza got demolished. So Carla Esparza, when we first saw her, was at UFC 185. She was the champion, and she got destroyed by Joanna Jędrzejczyk. First time we ever saw Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna Jędrzejczyk beat her up. I don't think she made it out of the first round. It was the craziest thing. Well, Carla Esparza came back to Dallas this past Saturday, and she got destroyed again. I think that it is time for Carla to just hang up the gloves if they invite her to Dallas. Be like, listen, I'll go fight anywhere. I'll fight in Russia. I'll fight in Brazil. I'll fight in Las Vegas. But do not send me to Dallas because I always lose there. We got no cookies in Dallas. No cookies in Dallas for the Cookie Monster.
So, is she just really bad? Like, is it officially time for her to just be a wrestler?
No, she actually won her last fight. Like, she was very dominant. She started slow. I think that's probably the problem, is that she starts too slow. You know, there are fighters like Cowboy Cerrone who start slow. They kind of have to get punched in the face a couple of times, and then they wake up and they're like, oh, wait, I'm in a fight. And then they actually start fighting. But if you start fast enough, then they never recover, and that's what happened to her. She just got thrown around the ring like a rag doll, and next thing you know, she's getting elbows and fists in the face, and you know, they stopped the fight on her. So, but I
can relate.
That's you absolutely can, because I did that to you like twice.
I didn't realize we were talking about our fight. I was talking about my real fights.
Oh, okay. So, in the first fight of the night, Abdul Razak Al Hassan defeated Nico the Hybrid Price via knockout in round 1. And if you go back and listen to the live main event, you know, I'm here and I'm like, oh, Nico Price, I remember that guy. He's the hybrid. You know, he's gonna do extremely well. Dude, Al Hassan blew him off the track, just destroyed him. The fight lasted 43 seconds, which means he failed the buffer factor.
No. What is the buffer factor?
The buffer factor is a rule that says that a fight has to last at least as long as it takes to announce. It took Bruce Buffer, the announcer, to announce this fight in 1 minute and 19 seconds. The fight only lasted 43, which means that this guy could have gotten knocked out twice by the time it took Bruce Buffer to announce the fight.
Fair enough. It's a quick one, but still you get your money's worth.
Yeah, well, it was super exciting. Next fight of the night, Jimmy Rivera defeated John Dodson via unanimous decision. Now, we're a fan of John Dodson, right? We like this guy. He's known as the Magician. He's
What's
super
all this
fast.
We talk?
You're not?
How can you like Dodson and love Demetrius Johnson? There can be only one.
Because I like I like John Dodson, and I love Demetrius Johnson. Like and love.
I'm telling him you love him.
Hey, you know what? It's an agape love. Anyway, Jimmy Rivera defeated John Dodson via unanimous decision. This fight was pretty much all in Jimmy Rivera's hand. Watching John Dodson didn't really look like he had very much. He seemed scared to engage. And this is a guy that's got knockout power, and he's super fast. But, I just think that those 135-pound fighters are too big. He needs to go back down to 125. In the next fight, Zabit Magomedsharipov defeated the Killer Bee Brandon Davis via submission in round 2. It was one of the 2 knee bars of the night.
So I'm kind of mad that it ended in a knee bar. That was so kind of interesting because I tried the knee bar today and ended up hurting my wrist at jiu-jitsu. So thank you, UFC fighters, for making me believe I could do this. I looked terrible.
Oh my gosh.
I was so excited, like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Nope. Pretty sure I heard my wrist snap.
Okay, well, you gotta go into this. How did you hurt your wrist trying to do a knee bar?
Because, all right, so I'm not all that technical at all. I am definitely a striker and not a jiu-jitsu guy. So I was trying to take a Kimura hold on the guy's leg. I was pretty excited about the isolation I got. His leg.
You got to explain some of these things. Because you can't say you got a Kimura hold on him and not explain what a Kimura hold is. What is a Kimura hold?
All right, so a Kimura hold is when you go on the internet and you go to Wikipedia and look up Kimura, it's that. So that's what I don't know how to describe it. It just happens. I don't know, life. So I take my hand, put it under, and try to break stuff. I don't know.
So how are you holding the guy's leg?
Gently, like a baby. I don't know. Why are we doing this?
Remember, you and I had talked, and you said that was kind of what you wanted to do. You wanted to kind of take things that happen in fights and break it down. I'm trying to give you your chance to break it down. This is what I was doing.
All right. So what I was doing was I started out pretty high on his neck. Then we moved to north-south, and somehow from north-south I was able to step over him, and I isolated his left leg, and then I attempted to put a Kimura hold on his knee.
And a Kimura hold is a Kimura hold. Okay, got it.
Yeah, exactly. And I tried to hyperextend it, and in doing so, I heard my wrist go. I was like, "Whoa, this is no bueno." So I tapped myself out trying to submit it. You know how embarrassing that is to everyone's like, "Oh, he's got him. What happened?"
I hurt myself.
And I'm doing my best not to cry because other people are in the gym right now watching, and I'm feeling all kinds of pain. I'm like, oh, I should have got wrist surgery. This is not ideal. So,
okay.
Thank you, UFC. You have ruined me and made me believe I could do things I can't.
So in this fight, Zabit Magomedsharipov, he's from Dagestan. Dagestan is in the UFC. In the UFC world, it is the gangster wrestling hotbed of the world. It's where gangsters and wrestlers come together to make little MMA babies. And so
such a weird image.
And Zabit Magomedsharipov is a 6'3", 145-pound dude who fights.
He smothered his opponent.
It's just crazy. And so you got Brandon Davis, who's only had 11 days to prepare. Normally a fight camp is like 6 to 8 weeks. So he's only got 11 days, like 2 weeks to prepare. And Brandon Davis actually did a really good job in the first round. I mean, he lost the round, but he did a good job. But in the second round, it got kind of out of control. Zabit Magomedsharipov took him down with a nice trip. Then, took his back, which means he was basically was behind Brandon Davis, and he was trying to get a rear naked choke, which is sliding his arm underneath the chin of Brandon Davis and then locking that back on his forearm and pulling back to choke him. But Brandon Davis,
I hate that you can actually explain that.
Brandon Davis, I want
to drown you right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Look. Yeah, I
couldn't have helped me out, so clearly you had the vernacular to do this.
Okay,
you just let me flounder.
The hard part is this: I have no. So honestly, I have no idea what a Kimura on a leg looks like. Like I don't know what I've never seen that before, so I can't describe it.
I can only demonstrate it. Like you do this.
I am not going to offer it.
Limb.
I didn't realize that, but it's kind of so a Kimura on the arm is where you've kind of got like whenever you're doing a basket toss.
Oh yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, it's like a basket toss.
How dare you have the language? How dare you?
Anyway, Zabit Magomedsharipov was on the back of Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis stood up, and what Zabit did was grab one of his legs and pull back. And when he did, Brandon Davis fell down, but it gave Zabit a lever to pull back his leg, hyperextending it at the knee, which was putting pressure on his hamstring. And so with a knee bar, if you don't stop the fight, that move will rip your whole hamstring out, and it'll take a long time. You may not ever truly recover from that injury. So Brandon Davis tapped, and that fight was over. Next fight of the night was the co-main event. Jessica Bate Estaca Andrade defeated Karolina Kowalkiewicz via knockout in round 1.
Yo, what does Jessica Andrade's nickname mean?
It means pile driver. Bate Estaca means pile driver.
Oh yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, you see, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to be passive aggressive and try to get me to not know something on the wax.
On the wax?
Yeah, the wax on the record.
I hate you so much. What is this, 1970? You jive to me.
All right, so
who talks like
I'm trying to be hip like you kids.
It's lit, folks.
So
Anywho,
I've been a Karolina Kowalkiewicz fan for a very long time. Ever since she fought the fight before Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I think that was Valerie Letourneau or something like that. She's just such a technical striker. She throws bunches of punches. It's everything you want in just a good boxer. Jessica Andrade is like a wrestler, like a jiu-jitsu specialist wrestler. And so as long as you don't go to the ground where she's strong, you'll do fine. You'll outpoint her with your punches. But what we found out after the fight is that Jessica Andrade has been studying secretly Muay Thai, which is a striking art. Mm-hmm. She has gotten really good, like scary good. And she punched Karolina's lights out in the first round. And when I say she punched her lights out, she hit Karolina Kowalkiewicz with a right hook that literally rolled her eyes in the back of her head, and she fell down just in a heap of bones and flesh. Like that was basically how it happened. And the ref just jumped in at that point.
Rocked her.
That's how it goes. So I thought that this had failed the buffer factor, but thankfully my girl Karolina Kowalkiewicz survived 1 minute and 58 seconds. And the buffer factor for this fight was 1 minute and 30. It took Bruce Buffer 1 minute 30 to announce the fight. She lasted 158, so she passed, and she can at least look at herself in the mirror.
Yeah, I don't think she cares. She took that L hard.
She took that L very hard. And in the main event of the evening, the chosen one, Tyron Woodley, defeated Darren, the Gorilla Till, via submission in round 2 via Darce choke.
All right. So I've been a Woodley fan, just like everyone else who, when he wins, like, oh, since way back when.
Sure.
But legitimately, as I walked into the next bar of the night, I was catching the end of this fight right when Woodley rocks Till, and I'm pretty sure I was the only one in the entire bar cheering for Woodley. It's crazy how little respect this world champion gets. It's they always want to compare him to GSP and some of the other greats at welterweight, but the guy has cleared out the division, and as he has put it, has taken care of all of the specialists and the top talent. There's no one else for him to fight, and yet he gets so little love from Dana White.
Yeah, there's still people for him to fight.
All right, so you could say Usman, you could say Covington, but are these guys really on par with how old is Woodley? Woodley's 36 and he's 36, dominating these guys.
So probably Usman is the last great challenge for Tyron Woodley. I think that Colby Covington, I think he'll get rolled up. We'll talk about that in the next segment, or this 2 segments from now. But I think the real threat to the legacy of Tyron Woodley is Kamaru Usman. He's younger, he's faster, or as fast. He's got the wrestling, he's got the power. I just don't know that he's got the accuracy that Tyron Woodley has. And Tyron landed a beautiful punch on Darren Till. If you can see it, you'll see it on the on the graphic that we have for this episode. But just literally go back and find the video, the photo of Tyron Woodley landing the right hook and hitting Darren Till so hard that his hair is standing up on end, like he stuck his finger in a light socket. I mean, it was that hard.
Woodley has unmistakable power in those fists. And the fact that he was able to overcome that range differential, his movement was just crisp. His ability to get inside and find his angles, the man is just unparalleled right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, the big thing is that Tyron Woodley is a much smaller guy. If you look at him standing next to Darren Till, he was giving up at I don't know what the difference in the height is, but at least 4 or 5 inches. And the and right when the fight started, Tyron Woodley raced across the cage, jumped in front of Darren Till, and started grappling with him. He got inside almost immediately. He wasn't able to take Till down, but the thing is that he showed that he wasn't afraid of Darren Till's striking ability. And the fact is that Darren Till didn't really throw any punches. In the second round, he got out punched like 56-1, something like that. I mean, it was ridiculous. So, it's all credit goes to Tyron Woodley. It was interesting. Even George last night. George is the person that I do the live events with. George Stallworth. He was saying that maybe this was too early a fight for Darren Till. We talked about the fact that Darren Till said that he didn't deserve a title shot after the Wonderboy Thompson fight. I think that this goes to prove that he didn't, and it goes to show how far.
I think he was just saying that because of weight versus actual ability. I think in his mind he truly believed he was the best. I mean, he was undefeated up to that point, so I could see why he felt in his soul that he had a shot. But I mean, that weight cut had to have taken a lot out of him. He was looking really gaunt even after he rehydrated. Yeah,
Darren Till should be fighting at 185 and not 170. But if he can make the weight, that weight differential in his ability and his size, makes for a great competitive advantage. It just didn't work out against Tyron Woodley. You got anything else before we close the book on this?
Tyron's the GOAT. And I feel like Dana White's got to respect that now.
All right. So let's close the book on this one and put it on the shelf because this card is history. Now let's take a trip to the train yard to see what hype trains are pulling out of the station.
Train.
This is the Hype Train, where we discuss the bandwagons people are jumping on after the action at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas on Saturday night. I got a couple of fighters. You got to tell me if you are on the Hype Train or not. The first one on the list is Abdul Razak Al Hassan. He put Nico Price away in less time than the Buffer Factor. He is a Fort Worth guy. He is a Texas native, actually. He was born in Ghana, but he got to Texas as fast as he could. Are you going to get on this hype train?
I'm usually slow to get on a hype train of a guy who has an early finish, because those aren't indicative of skill necessarily. Because we saw Ronda Rousey had a ton of early finishes, but got exposed once she was in a real fight. Okay.
I'm going to get on this hype train. In general, if I got a guy from Texas that's winning, I'm going to get on their hype train. I'm going to support him. Even James Vick let me down versus Justin Gaethje a couple of weeks ago. But any Texan, anybody that's repping the Lone Star State, I'm gonna get on their hype train. So, punch that ticket for me. Jimmy Rivera. He needed a win versus John Dodson. He got it. Now he's still in the conversation for a future title shot at 135 pounds. On this hype train or not?
Nope. I don't think it's that hard to beat Dodson.
He is undersized. I'm not on the hype train either. The next one, Brandon the Killer B Davis went 2 rounds with Zabit Magomedsharipov with only 11 days of training. You on this hype train?
Why are you making me be so negative today? Again, not going to be on this Brandon Davis thing, because surviving doesn't make you a good fighter.
All right. Next fighter. I'm not on it either.
Wait, hold on. I was about to say, you got to step up with an answer.
I'm not on it. Jessica Andrade. I know we may have talked about her in the there you go. See? Positivity.
There it is. I think she is going to just be on a continual uptick. Like, she's only getting better.
You think she'll win the title?
This is a dangerous chick. Not yet. she still got some work to do.
Because who she's got to fight to get the title.
Everybody?
No, she's got the next title shot. You know who she's fighting?
Really?
She's fighting Thug Rose. No hair.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't wait for that fight to get scheduled. Because I want to see your pick there.
I don't know where Rose's head is right now. There's so many conflicting reports of her mental state, which in no way is this meant to be.
Disclaimer. Boop, boop.
Yeah,
disclaimer.
This is not a pejorative of mental health in the least bit. I feel like most people struggle with it at some point, and I hate that we got to throw this in there, because this isn't meant to be an attack on mental health. But Thug Rose hasn't been much of a thug lately.
She's been more like Hug Rose.
Right? I am for it. Travel around with your man in your RV and do all of that. But she lacks that killer instinct right now. I think.
You think Conor got her, huh?
I think that might be it. I think, honestly, it wasn't Conor. I don't think she was actually prepared to be champion. That's a lot of extra pressure, and she hates media, all that stuff. She's out of her element right now as champion.
Yeah,
she wants to be a fighter, and this isn't what being a champion's about in this version of UFC.
Being a champion means you got to do a lot of media, and you got to be out in front of people. And if you're not going to be charismatic and you're not going to get people's attention, then it's going to be really hard to get the support and marketing and promotion that you need in order to get bigger fights. So, I hope that this Jessica Andrade fight is one that's going to bring some eyeballs. I am on the Jessica Andrade train. I put her on there because I don't remember if we ever actually had her on a hype train before. So I feel it'd be safe to reaffirm our commitment to Jessica Andrade. It's like
renewing our vows.
Renewing our vows. I was trying to come up with it. Yeah, renewing our vows here for Jessica Andrade. I have Karolina Kowalkiewicz on here because I want to talk about, you don't always just get on hype trains, but you have to get off hype trains as well. And so this is my opportunity, because I know that you're not on this hype train already.
Nope.
But I can't stay mad at her. Come on. It's Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
That's sexism, because if any other fighter that was male was that terrible, you'd have hopped off a while ago.
You know what? I don't know that to be true, but all I know is that I am standing next to the door. She gets knocked out the way she did again, and I got to get off that train.
Yeah. And pretend like you never had a ticket.
Yeah. I'm gonna be like, don't let the cock crow 3 times, because I'm gonna be like, nope, I don't know what you're talking about.
That is a biblical reference for those who missed it. So
last one.
Like, hold on, who is the guy who called someone Judas? The Cuban guy.
Oh, you're talking about
trade him with a kiss.
Oh yes, you're talking about Yoel Romero.
Yeah, there it is. All right. So I just had to make my connection that, hey, I know UFC and the Bible.
In that order. Last one, Tyron Woodley. And I know that we're both on the hype train for Tyron Woodley. But he says he is the greatest welterweight champion of all time. He says no disrespect to George St. Pierre, but he doesn't have to fight George St. Pierre to prove that. Is Tyron Woodley... I wasn't even
going to let you finish that. Yeah,
okay.
Like, there's no question to it. Because that's a snippet of what Tyron said. But if you look at the full context, Tyron lays out why his resume is better than GSP, and the facts don't lie. The people that GSP were fighting were specialists who just couldn't handle GSP, and they were slower, they didn't hit as hard. Tyron's fighting a next level, like guys who've been training for a lot longer, and not just wrestlers who learned how to punch. Like, Tyron's fighting well-rounded, solid fighters, whereas GSP had some good competition, but they weren't the level of fighters that Woodley's faced.
You know, I like Tyron Woodley. You know, I support him. He's a good human being. Like, he's not just a good fighter. He's a good man. He's a good person. He, works in his community. He's a good father to his kids. I don't know how good a rapper he is. He's got a single coming out tomorrow.
He's trash.
So he's probably trash as a rapper, but he works for his community. He's a good man of faith. All these good things about Tyron Woodley. But you can't say that he's the greatest welterweight champion of all time and not clear out the rest of the division. Number one, you can't say no. He didn't clear out the division like George St. Pierre cleaned out his division. Number two, you can't go and say, "Oh, well, my competition is tougher," even though he is, like LeBron James, standing on the shoulders of giants, which is George St. Pierre. That the reason why welterweight is so good is because of George St. Pierre. Come on. You might as well call George St. Pierre Michael Jordan, because everybody wanted to be like GSP. Hell,
okay. I'll support that, and that means that we have Woodley the GOAT.
No. You can't. Listen. You can't inherit. The training and the skills of.
So this is why they need to fight.
They do need to fight. Thank you.
I think it's dumb, and I don't believe that it's beneficial to either, because like you said, for Woodley to continue, like the thing that might mar his legacy is if he fought Usman and lost. I think his legacy has already been cemented, much like. If GSP was to fight Woodley here, no one wins. Like, if GSP wins, then his legacy doesn't get greater. If Woodley wins, he fought an old GSP. There's no win here in this scenario.
But GSP and no, because GSP and Tyron Woodley are approximately the same age. GSP is no more than 38.
Okay. He's not the same GSP, because everyone will say, well, if you fought GSP in his prime.
Yeah, so George St. Pierre is 36. Tyron Woodley, of course they won't tell you right away.
53. He's 36. So he's black don't crack.
Yeah, he's 36. So they're roughly the same age. This is a fight that needs to happen. But I think that what plays in Tyron Woodley's favor
money fight
is that George St. Pierre doesn't want that fight. He is actively avoiding that fight.
He should, because Tyron would put in work there, and then everyone who wants to talk about GSP's legacy, that's a terrible black mark on his legacy. Ooh.
Yeah, come on now. Let's keep this on the up and up. And with that, we'll end the segment and go right into the next segment. Whew, good grief.
And we'll fix it in post.
Okay, let's go into our segment where we look at the headlines that are making waves in the wake of UFC 228 with Finding the Angles. Finding the Angles. This is Finding the Angles. This is where we look at the headlines people are talking about. You know, we told you that there was a second title fight that got taken off the card. That was a fight between the 125-pound champion, women's champion, Nico Montano. She was supposed to fight Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko. That fight got removed from the card because hours before the weigh-ins, Nico Montano was rushed to the hospital because she had a bad weight cut. She dehydrated herself. Rumor has it that her kidney shut down, and she was not able to make weight. This is just one of a long list of grievances that Dana White and the UFC has had in dealing with Nico Montano. And so they later stripped her of her belt. She never found out about it until she saw it on Instagram. So what she said was it was pretty sad. It was disheartening. She didn't want to have anything to do with the UFC a bit after. She said that, basically they stripped her of her title and didn't call her to see how she was doing. And she had to find out on Instagram. So I saw this thing. Mark Raimondi said that Nico Montano said she checked in for fight week at 144 pounds. That's 15.2% above the weight class. UFC guidelines ask that fighters be within 8% on check-in day. That should have been a red flag immediately. So she was almost twice the weight that she was supposed to be at weigh-in, and she was trying to make this cut. So what are your thoughts on this? Is the UFC screwing over Nico Montano? Is this what she deserves after all the stuff that she's been through with the UFC, or do you have some other random feeling about this?
Man, I just feel like Dana White is a heartless, gutless man. Like, I really do. The fact that there's so many fighters who have grievances with him saying that he doesn't care about the fighters. This is a prime example. Like, your first agenda was to strip Nico of her title rather than actually talking to the fans about the importance of fighter safety, or making this another stand for this is why we don't want our fighters to come in heavy. Like, we want to this would have been a great time to, at the very least, promote the UFC's what do you call that thing?
Performance
Their training.
Institute.
Yeah, their Performance Institute. But no, Dana White thinks that the most important thing to do is to further denigrate his champions, and it's problematic. Like, yeah, Nico, you got to do a better job. You got to have your coaches. But there were some mitigating circumstances there. But the big thing to me is, like, Dana White, have a heart. Like, this is just, it's at a point where how are we still okay with a man like this?
Because we're still okay with the product that he produces. I mean, that's basically what's going on. People are okay with what's going on in the UFC, so therefore they are willing to tolerate it. The fact is, for me, is that there are 3 rules as a fighter. Number 1, you train. Number 2, you make weight. And number 3, you win. Nico missed number 2. And the worst thing in the world to me is when a fighter who is a champion misses weight on a night that they have to defend the title. Like, what happened there? Now, I don't know if I would have stripped her.
It's happened too many times in the past to make this put this on Nico thing.
No.
Till, I mean, come on.
No, Romero and Till never held the belt. The champions in both of those fights made weight.
Fair.
and that is the standard that is held by the title holder. But the fact is, it ended her up in the hospital. So she was so far off that she wasn't able to just miss weight. She missed weight by a mile. And so, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if she should have been stripped of the title. I can't say that I would have stripped her of the title because I would have wanted to see her actually fight. But I don't know what you do for Valentina Shevchenko. You got to do something for her. I mean,
Dana White has said that he's going to give Valentina a title shot, which also means that Nico's not going to have the shot against Valentina because that fight's not getting booked again.
Yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's go ahead to the next story. Let's go ahead to the next story because you know who they're talking about putting against Valentina Shevchenko for the title.
Who do we have?
The Queen.
Oh, come on.
Of 115 pounds, Joanna Jędrzejczyk to fight Valentina Shevchenko for a title shot at 125 pounds. So Ariel Helwani, who is, the great MMA reporter, asked her, and she said, why not? She said that we already have our history with Joanna in Muay Thai, and we can start our history in MMA. Why don't we do this fight? So that is a possible fight.
It's a good fight. I just don't want Joanna to already just be title shot at this.
The UFC is highly motivated to get Joanna Jędrzejczyk a title. Like, I don't know what
she's gonna catch hands. Like, I don't think she wins this fight.
You know that I have been, and ever since UFC 185, where she destroyed Carla Esparza, bring that circle back around. I have been on the hype train for Joanna Jędrzejczyk. However, I'm starting to feel like she's getting way too many title shots and title opportunities. And
because they're trying to expand the market. It's this is purely marketing versus talent. But I mean, she's good for women's MMA as well. Let's be honest.
She is, and she's willing to talk on the mic, and she has a little bit of charisma, even though she's got a very thick accent. She has charisma. She's willing to talk. She's willing to get out there. She's got an active Instagram. All the things that you want in a champion that Rose Thug Namajunas is not doing. And so, if you can get her a belt at 125, I mean, either way you go, whether you get Joanna Jędrzejczyk or Valentina Shevchenko, both of those are going to be good champions that you can promote. I just think that they don't have enough fighters at 125 to actually make it worth anything.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's going to be a low buy.
Yeah. Yeah, either way.
Put something out there.
Yeah. So, here we go. UFC 228, Snoop Dogg. Do you know who Snoop Dogg is?
SNOOPDOGZ.
Okay. Yes would have worked.
Nah.
He confused.
Nah, my way is better.
He confused Darren Till with Colby Covington. So during UFC 228, I can't. During UFC 228,
terrible trash talkers for no reason. Come on.
Darren Till is not bad. I am actually. Yeah, I like Darren Till. Sorry. But during the UFC 228 main event, Snoop Dogg recorded a video where he was yelling F Donald Trump at the screen while Tyron Woodley beat up and eventually submitted Darren Till. Of course, Darren Till is not an American citizen. He is from Liverpool, England. And Colby Covington, who is a huge MAGA Trump supporter, responded to Snoop Dogg by saying, Calvin, F you, you crusty old stick figure with Tourette's.
All right, so a couple things wrong with this whole exchange. One, Snoop was out of line. His video is trash. Like,
it's trash. It is.
It's utter filth. Like, I can't. But that being said, since everyone wants to give, I'll just go a different route. There's a possibility that he is such a Tyron supporter, and he knew that Covington was the next up, that he was basically talking trash to Covington, knowing that was Till.
No.
I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
No. Like, go back and rewatch that video. It is not. He literally thought that Colby Covington is Darren Till, and he's yelling all this stuff, and
well, I almost want them
embarrassing
to fight now because I know Colby would get worked. Like he needs to be silenced. But honestly, I'd rather it come from Usman because there's less money involved.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. I want Tyron to break Colby's face, and not just because of the trash talking on the presidential side. Like politics aside, I don't actually care where he lands. It's more how disrespectful of a human being he is.
Well, what's happened now is that Colby Covington has been this disagreeable pain in the neck for well over a year now, and so he has just been
getting old.
It got old when he started, and so no one has been able to shut him up. So if Tyron Woodley doesn't defeat Colby Covington, then there is no stopping him. I mean, it is going to be the Colby Covington show at 170 pounds, and there's nothing that we can do about it. So it's almost one of those things, which leads us into our next story, which is Colby Covington is a freaking jerk. So, so following UFC 228, he tweeted out 3 tweets. The first one to Tyron Woodley, which says Tyrone, which is a intentional misspelling of his name. You didn't blow it. Time for you to come see me in the garden. America's champ has another promise to keep. UFC 228, the people's champ, great American winning machine.
He didn't even come up with his own taglines. Like Donald Trump has got to get after this dude. Like, stop using me for marketing. Be your own person.
So no, Donald Trump is eating it up. Donald Trump had him over at the White House. Donald Trump called him champ.
No, that was because of Dana White.
Yes, but still, Donald Trump called him champ. Colby Covington is not a champ. Like, I even think they stripped him of his title. So he doesn't even a title holder anymore. Like, he's not even interim. His second tweet went to Darren Till. It says, go home.
He's lost the popular vote?
Oh, I'm not even going to touch that.
It was right there. I mean, come on.
So Darren Till, he tweets out to Darren Till, go home, you can-crushing doughboy. You were never ready for prime time, Junior. UFC 228, great American winning machine.
Yeah, I mean, it's on par with Colby. Just why denigrate a man who just took his first loss? Why is that a part of it for you?
That's why I said, because he is a jerk, Jerk, and it's only a jerk because this is a PG-13 podcast.
Yeah.
Because there are worse things that we'd want to call him most times. Last one is to Wonderboy Thompson, because Wonderboy Thompson actually congratulated Tyron Woodley for winning the fight. And then,
but he also did kind of call him out. Like,
he called him out, but yeah, we got to give us a third fight. Like, no, you don't.
No, no one cares.
you had 2 shots, you lost one, and you tied. There was a draw for the other. Wonderboy Thompson congratulated Tyron Woodley, and then Colby Covington says, "Oh, shut the hell up, you virgin! You're at the back of the line, choir boy."
See, none of this has anything to do with style, capabilities, anything. These are just ad hominem attacks for no reason.
Yeah.
And yet people still like him.
I just think that's a small group of people.
Well, those small group of people.
It's a small group of small people.
Fan listening right now, do better.
Do better. Demand better.
Be best.
Demand better. Make Colby Covington's trash talk great again.
I mean, I'm not saying don't trash talk. Just do a better job of it. Come on.
Hey, last story. Diego Sanchez is nearing a record. Do you know what that record is?
Least known fighter.
No. But it is good to say that people may not know who Diego Sanchez is. There was a show. It was called The Ultimate Fighter. It was the first MMA reality show. It put the UFC on the map, and one of the reasons why people know the UFC. He was one of the fighters. I think he won The Ultimate Fighter in season 1, and he had this amazing pressure style. They called him the Nightmare. And he just had this style where he would just rush in and just destroy people by just overwhelming them. He would take punches. He would eat punches. He'd eat knuckle sandwiches for lunch. I mean, it was just the kind of thing that he would do. And you just couldn't stop him. He didn't care if he got bloodied or bruised or whatever. He just kept coming. And that's how he won. Well, a career of doing this means that Diego Sanchez is nearing a record that he has absorbed 1,168 total head strikes in his UFC career. Second to BJ Penn at 1,358.
So he's taking a few shots.
He has taken that many punches to the head.
Record.
Yeah.
CTE record.
Yeah. I mean, that is what he's doing, and he doesn't want to retire. So he was fighting on the Dallas card. He was in Dallas, this weekend, fighting Craig White. He won by decision, but he took another 60-something strikes. So,
Craig.
So I feel really bad because this Diego Sanchez is one of the great UFC, veterans that was there at the, the relaunch of the UFC after so long. And, I think his career is coming to an end. He's falling farther and farther out of the spotlight, and taking this damage is only going to result in, just a bad rest of his life. His quality of life is just going to get worse and worse. And I hate to see it for someone who's as big a competitor as Diego Sanchez. You got anything else before we go on?
Nothing. It is finished.
All right. I'm glad you're doing that, actually. Are you on the run sheet? Are you following along? All right.
Here's the thing. If it dies, it dies.
All right. So that is the Finding the Angle segment. We got one segment left, and that is the fight card, where we preview the upcoming fights this weekend. This is the fight card, and there is only one fight this weekend, and that is UFC Fight Night Moscow. Hunt versus Olenek. Olenek. There you go. Olenek. Thank you. It's on September 15th at SC Olympic Indoor Stadium in Moscow, Russia. We've got 4 fights on the card. Alexei Kunchenko versus Thiago Silva. That is the Pitbull. He has been a long time in the UFC as well. He actually fought George St. Pierre for a title shot. You got Andrei Arlovsky versus Shamil Abduraimov.
Abduraimov.
Thank you. You want to read these?
No.
Yeah, it's Niet. There you go. Jan Blachowicz versus Nikita Krylov. And then for the main event, you got Mark Hunt versus Alexei Olenek.
Shout out to Mark CTE Hunt for still having a shot here.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that after all of this controversy with Mark Hunt, who had gone on the on a interview for a website and suggested that he had CTE, which stands for
concussed times every day.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's the
I like my version better.
It's the NFL, popularized brain damage concussion thing. So Mark Hunt said that he felt like he was suffering it. He had bad memory loss. He had all these things. The UFC was like, "Oh, screw that. We're not going to let you fight anymore." And he's like, "Why are you not letting me fight?"
Maybe because literally everything you just said
you have brain damage. Even as much as we want to make money off of your health and lack of, we can't in good ethics.
I think it just gave him a reason. I don't think that CTE would have stopped him. I think it was just, it's another one of those Dana White doesn't like me because he talked trash against a big roid guy. Daddy Shark. What is this guy's name? Lesnar. There we go.
Brock Lesnar.
You were just going to let me do that on.
I had no idea who you were talking about.
That happened on the radio.
Yes, I did.
Come on.
I had no idea what you were talking about. I'm like, who is Daddy Shark?
Oh, my God.
All right, let's go for a flash fight pick. You got Mark Hunt or Alexei Oleinik?
Oh, I missed everything that just happened.
Mark Hunt or Alexei Oleinik? What's your flash fight pick?
I'm going Alexei.
Well, you know the rules. My rule number 1 is never bet against the Russian, so I'm going with Alexei Oleinik as well. And that is our show. Follow us on social media. On Twitter, I'm at CST Ryan.
On Tinder, I am at CST_KC. I wish that was a thing now.
What?
I'm going to start putting my Tinder profile out there.
Okay. What is your Tinder profile?
I have no idea. I'm going to figure that out for next show.
Oh, okay. All right. You can check out the website at www.combatsportstalk.com. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, and Instagram. By the way, you can also find us on Spotify.
Oh, yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. Big time. We now have merchandise on Amazon. Search for Combat Sports Talk, and we've added a new section on the website for live events. We just posted live event today of UFC 228, where you can get those reactions from me and the double champ, George G. Money Stallworth. Anything else before we go?
Yeah, my Venmo information is... No, I'm just ridiculous.
All right. Have a good night.
Bon dia. Wait. Buon noche.
All right. Our theme music is composed by Scott McCurry at scottdeancountry.com. KC Onyebuchi produced our lead-ins. I want to thank you for joining us for another edition of Combat Sports Talk. For KC Onyebuchi, I'm Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. And there you have it.
Baby shark, baby shark, mama shark, mama shark, grandma shark.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's in the show. I don't know why that came to mind as I was trying to think of Brock Lesnar's name.
All right. So I'll stop recording now.